Good day to you. My name is Brian Wickman. I'm the Outreach Director for the National Institute for Direct Instruction, NIFDI. We're based in Eugene, Oregon, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you for joining us for what I'm sure will be a very interesting and informative webinar for the next 90 minutes, an overview of authentic direct instruction math programs. We'll get into the content after I take just a few moments to tell you a little bit about the National Institute for Direct Instruction, NIFDI. NIFDI was founded over 25 years ago by Siegfried Engelmann. Zig is the inventor and senior developer of the direct instruction programs. He began back in 1964 or so, and there's some great information on our website, www.nifdi.org, that goes over the history of direct instruction and information about its efficacy and many other resources. I do urge you to explore our website. Zig formed NIFDI several decades ago to show the potential for direct instruction when it is fully implemented as the core curriculum for teaching reading, language, and arithmetic. NIFDI's prime purpose is to work with schools to provide the professional development and support to maximize student performance through direct instruction. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later at the end of this webinar. But NIFDI stands ready to work with you to partner with your school or your classroom for the benefit of your students and achieve great results through DI. I'm going to turn this over to our presenter, Jaritza Alecon, and for the next, I guess it'd be 88 minutes and counting. Jaritza has been a classroom teacher, principal, coach, trainer, and implementation manager, and has deep experience in direct instruction. Jaritza, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Brian. Hi, everyone. Like you mentioned, I've been in various roles in education. A little bit more about me. I currently live in the Seattle area with my husband and my three young children, and am incredibly grateful to be spending time with you all today. I'd love to hand over the mic to Rochelle, who will also be with us throughout our time together. Rochelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm Rochelle Davison. I'm the Director of Training for NIFDI, and I just am pleased to be here. I live in the Eugene area at our national headquarters for NIFDI. And I used to be a classroom teacher, and I now work as the for training, but I also do implementation support for schools, as well as support our implementation managers and do special projects. So happy to be here with you today. All right. Thank you. I'll go ahead, hand it back to
Thank you so
Julia.
much, Rochelle. Thank you. Before we dive into what we'll be doing with our time together, I want to take a quick second to thank all of you as educators for all that you have done and are doing for the success of students. We will be using slides with lesson scripts as we move through our time together. We will also be using the polling feature on Zoom, which I always feel is a fun way to engage in order to hear from you regarding specific topics. Another option for participating today is to use the Q&A option in your Zoom menu to comment or ask a question. You can do this by clicking right below. There's a little Q&A button in the middle of your screen. Rochelle will be monitoring those questions and will let me know if there are any items that we should address with the group. Please note that in order to limit distractions, all of you have been muted as a part of just default settings for this webinar. If you joined the ELA webinar back in December, welcome back. The format will feel relatively familiar to you. If you're new today, welcome. We are happy to have you. Here's what we're going to be doing with our 90 minutes today, or Brian gave us 88. At this point, it's probably 87 or 86. We will do some intros to get to know everybody a little bit better. We will make sure everyone has the appropriate materials to engage in this session. We will discuss our goals for our time together, and we will get into the meat of our webinar, which is discussing some fantastic math programs that can support your students. Before we get into the material, it would be helpful for me to learn a little bit more about you, your relationship with schools, and your background with direct instruction. So let's go ahead and start off with our polls. In just a second, Rochelle will launch our first poll. Where's everybody joining us from? Perhaps right here in the US, maybe a close neighbor here on the West Coast. or perhaps somewhere overseas. Let's find out. When you get that poll, go ahead and tell us where you're from.
All right, we're getting poll results in very quickly, so thanks for clicking those buttons. Let's see, it looks like we're just about complete on this, and the majority of folks are coming from the US. We have a couple people from the United Kingdom and a couple people from Canada and some from Australia. Welcome, all of you in different time zones. We appreciate you sticking it out and joining us. All right, I'm going to stop that poll.
Thank you, Rochelle. So we have people from various places. Thanks for joining us. A little bit more information. It would also be helpful to know your relationship with schools. When Rochelle launches poll 2, select from the following. Are you a teacher, a coach, a district leader? Let us know. There are plenty of options here to choose from.
All right, I launched that. You should be able to choose and respond there. Great, thanks for clicking in on those and choosing your options. We have almost everyone. It looks like we have most of our participants as general education teachers or special education teachers, with a couple of leaders from the district and school, as well as university researchers, and then some who fall into that category of other.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that, Rochelle. A little bit more information. Now let's go and think about your relationship with direct instruction. So third poll is coming up, and you can answer whether you've taught direct instruction before, whether you coach it, or if you haven't had any experience with it before.
Okay, that poll's coming up. Great. Yeah, this one, people take a second to read those options and enter that data in there. Perfect, getting close. We have a lot of participants on here who teach both reading and language direct instruction programs and some math direct instruction math programs. And then I'd say about half of the people, about a quarter of the people don't use any direct instruction programs right now. And then we have some coaches who are on as well. About a small number of coaches. Okay, looking
So
good.
we have a pretty good mix. And so I will keep that in mind as we move through our session. Now to some housekeeping. Sent with your webinar link, you should have received a PDF that I will be referencing that details our math programs. At the end of our time together, you will also receive a start of the year flowchart that you may have received already if you attended our last webinar. It may also be helpful to have a pen and paper to take some notes. After the webinar, you will be receiving the PowerPoint handout as well as our program reference chart. This will be an interactive session, so Rochelle will be joining us for part of it, but you will also be interacting with us like you did with those polls. So we have activities, polls, demos that will help provide some insight into the specific steps the instructors take to select the appropriate DI programs for your students. Our goals today. So we are here and we have goals to accomplish. One is to gain a better understanding of our direct instruction math programs, both for the majority of your students and to meet specific needs, to identify where you are on our start of the year flowchart, and 3, to determine what your next steps are in this process. So let's talk about our developmental programs, which are designed to be used with the majority of our students. And when I say developmental, I mean programs intended to be taught in 1 year's time to students within that grade level. For example, a kindergarten program taught to kindergarten students completed within that school year. Now, these can also be accelerated given that you have more time and students are at mastery. Typically, lessons will range between 45 minutes and 90 minutes. That being said, these programs are skill dependent, meaning that students in other grade levels could potentially place here as well. So we could have second graders in a first grade program or students who are ahead of the game and place in a program level intended for students above their grade level. So for example, you might have a second grader in a third grade program. Our second bucket is going to be our remedial programs, which are designed for students who need a little bit more support. These programs are intended to cover more than 1 year's instruction in 1 year's time or less. So like developmental programs, these lessons will also range between 45 minutes and 90 minutes. Now here is a little snippet of our program reference chart. This will give you more details about who the program is intended for, what materials you might need, the number of lessons, schedule, etc. And as a reminder, you're going to be receiving this at the conclusion of our webinar, so feel free to spend as much time with it as you'd like. It's a great supplement to the teacher's guide that comes with each program. And if you're looking at just the screenshot there on the screen, you'll see that this is one of the programs that we are going to dive into, which is DISTAR Arithmetic. Let's now look at the start of the year flowchart. Today, I will be sharing an overview of each program that will hopefully help you further determine what you might be looking for. Are you addressing the needs of the majority of students? So are you looking for a core program or a developmental program? Or are you looking to serve a more specialized population? But before we purchase any materials, we start from the very top with placement tests. Where are your students? Once you've done that, we can group our students into homogeneous groups, which will then help us determine what materials we might need. We're going to talk about the other steps later on. Now, thinking about our developmental programs, here are the ones that we're going to cover today. Just a reminder that those developmental programs are intended for the majority of students in that grade level, but can be used by students in other grade levels depending on their skill level. Enter placement testing. Today, we will be looking at DISTAR Arithmetic, Connecting Math Concepts, and Essentials for Algebra, which all fall under that developmental category. If you'd like to follow along with me, I'm on page 1 of the handout that you received. So DISTAR will be right at the top. DISTAR Arithmetic, Level 1 is designed for kindergarten and first grade students. But given that it is a developmental program, you may see some advanced preschoolers using this level or some second grade students who may still need to master this material. Level 2 is intended for first grade students, although you may also see second grade or third graders that benefit from this too. DISTAR Arithmetic lays a great foundation by teaching addition, subtraction, story problems, counting, and number comparison. So think greater than, less than, all skills necessary to be successful in later years of math. DISTAR presents skills in a very carefully sequenced way. So the tasks in DISTAR Arithmetic 1 are presented as simple as possible, like you see here on the screen. The vocabulary used by the teacher is reduced. The practice the students receive is carefully controlled and it's realistic. Symbols like plus, the how many box, and numerals are introduced at the rate of every 2 to 4 days or 2 to 4 lessons so that students receive enough practice before getting a new symbol. We want students to be at mastery before moving on. And now the sequence is designed so that students master the skills that they will later use. When we think about that, we want them to master something before we're asking them to apply any of it. So if we look at the problem displayed on the screen, which is the 5 plus 0 equals, and we have that how many box, each one of those components is taught in isolation before students are presented with a task like this, where those symbols are then put into application. Let's take a closer look at a lesson. Before we dive in, I'd love to talk about what you're seeing. In a typical lesson, you will see the script, just the pink or reddish letters that you see there that tells teachers exactly what to say. What needs to be done will be in parentheses. That might be a pause or raising your hand. And student responses are in italics so that we know what they're expected to say. In this particular lesson, this is lesson 35, students count and end up with a number, just like they do when they work a problem. In this exercise, students are starting with 1 and ending up with 12. You'll notice that I, in just a second, will demo this with Rochelle. I'll be playing the role of a teacher. I will voice over the hard part, which is an added scaffold that helps students get to mastery with this skill. For the purpose of this model, Rochelle will be my student who will not make any mistakes. Rochelle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do some counting. My turn. I'm going to count and end up with 12. What number am I going to end up with?
12.
Yes, 12. Listen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. When I drop my hand, say the hard part. 9, 10, 11, 12.
12.
Now let's start counting with 1 and end up with 12. Get ready, count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
10, 11, 12. Again, get ready, count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
10, 11, 12.
12.
All by yourself, count and end up with 12. Get ready, count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Great counting, Rochelle. And end demo. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for being my student. So what we just did is a step along the way to getting students ready to do what you're about to see in this clip from an IDEA public charter school in Texas. Students are asked to start with a number and count to another number. There is going to be a little bit of background noise in the video, but if we can tune that out and watch for the enthusiasm and joy that the teacher and the students show, we can see that math really can be a lot of fun.
Nine. What number? You ready? You have 4. One is the same number. Get it going. Beautiful job. Good job counting to 9. Now listen. This time you have 6. All right? And you're going to count and end up with 9. What number? You ready? 9. Ready? You have 6. Get it going. 1, 2, 9. Good job, boys and girls. Good job counting to 9. Now, individual turn. All right, you're going to count to 9. What number? You ready? 9. You have 4. Ready? You have 4, Morgan. Get it going.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Great. So enthusiastic, but more importantly, or most importantly, students were able to do those tasks at mastering. So now let's see where all of this is going to lead us to. So let's look at lesson 21, where students count one group of lines and identify the number they end up with. In our demo and in the video, students were counting orally. Students are now in this exercise counting visual objects. In this case, they're going to be counting some tally marks. Rochelle and I are going to demo this one and start with the one on the left-hand side. For this task, I will be using a whiteboard. You can see my ring camera there. I'm like, I am in cloudy Seattle, so we need a little artificial light to help us out. So I'm going to be using this particular whiteboard just to help us, similar to what a teacher might use. Rochelle, are we ready? I have my lines to go.
Yep.
Count the lines. Every time I touch a line, you count. Get ready.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What number did we end up with?
7.
How many lines are there?
7.
Yes, 7. So let's ramp it up just a little bit more and let's look at the exercise or the lesson on our right-hand side of the screen. So on the right-hand side of our screen, we have lesson 38. And by lesson 38, students should have mastered counting a single group of objects. And task 2 of lesson 38 requires them to begin dealing with 2 groups of objects. So the expressions first group and second group are introduced, and we see that in step F. The students learn the important distinction between counting the lines in each group separately and counting them all together. We're going to demo again, and this time you're going to get to see me draw the line. So here we go. Here is a group of lines. Here's another group of lines. This is the first group of lines. Which group is this?
The first group.
Yes, this is the first group. Let's count the lines in the first group. When I touch, you count. Get ready.
1, 2, 3, 4.
How many lines are in the first group?
4.
Yes, 4. Now let's count the lines in the second group. This is the second group. When I touch a line, you count. Get ready.
1, 2.
How many lines in the second group?
2.
Yes, 2. Now we're going to count all of the lines. We'll count the lines in this group, and we'll keep going and count the lines in this group. Counting all the lines. Get ready.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How many lines are there?
6.
Yes, 6. What number did we end up with?
6.
Yes, 6. Nice job counting all the lines. High five. Thank you so much, Rochelle. Now, before we move on to our next program, I want to mention that all direct instruction programs focus on what we call the 3 Ds: design, delivery, and documentation. So the first D, design. Programs are designed so that skills are introduced gradually, like you were able to see how these skills progress. They are reinforced and continually assessed so that students don't fall behind. The second D would be delivery. So lessons are scripted and quickly paced. Teachers can correct immediately and motivate students with positive reinforcement. And documentation, years of independent research shows measurable success in all kinds of classrooms. So let's move on to our next DI program, Connecting Math Concepts Comprehensive Edition, which is a 6-level math program. And in CMC, as I will be referring to it, lessons are designed to introduce concepts at a reasonable rate and are designed so that all students will learn to compute, solve problems, and think mathematically. The rationale for the program is that understanding mathematics requires making connections between related mathematical concepts and the world around us. So the program ensures that students understand these connections, and it establishes relationships between concepts and their applications. The program does more than just expose students to connections. It really stresses understanding and introduces concepts carefully, then weaves them together throughout the program. Once something is introduced, it never goes away. It often becomes a component part of an operation that has several steps. So the organization of CMC, comprehensive addition, is powerful because lessons have been designed to teach explicit strategies that all students can learn and apply, introduce concepts at, like we mentioned, a reasonable rate, so all students can make that steady progress. It's also designed to help students make those connections between important concepts and key ideas, and provides practice, or the practice needed to achieve mastery and understanding. And now, when we say we don't just expose students, we're getting them to mastery and having them make those connections, one thing that I want to note, and I always think of this definition of mastery, and this is, if those of you know Tamara, this is from Tamara, but I like to think of mastery as being able to say something as quickly as you say your name. So if someone asks me my name, I don't hesitate. I know my name. My name is Jaritza. What's your name? Jaritza. And that is the exact level of mastery we want our students to be at with with all the skills that they are learning. And so as you hear me say mastery, I want you to think of that, being able to say it as quickly as you can say your name. Now, with this particular program, you get digital board displays that will save you time, since you won't be needing to write every single one of these math examples on a whiteboard, helping you move through the program smoothly and efficiently, which is definitely a great benefit on the teaching side for sure. Now, CMC has 6 levels, A through F, so let's go ahead and get into them. If you're following along in the program document, I am on page 1, but we'll be turning to page 2 as we go through the rest of the levels for this program. So starting with level A. Level A is designed for students in kindergarten or students in another grade level who may not have mastered the skills in this level. This program is intended for students who may not be able to count or identify numbers yet, but do have the basic language skills to follow teacher directions. So level A provides a strong foundation that will serve students as they move into more advanced levels. Now, level B. This level is designed for first grade or above for students who have either completed A or have passed the level B placement test, which means you could potentially have a K student in this level if they pass the placement test. These students can write 1 to 2 digit numbers, represent numbers with objects, and add and subtract 1, 2, and 0. Remember that although levels are designed for a particular grade level, placement tests give us more information on where our students need to be. They help determine whether students have the necessary prerequisite skills to be successful in that particular program level. CMC level B uses a key strategy, the number family strategy. This part is important, so pay attention. Each family consists of 3 numbers that go together to create addition and subtraction facts. Each number has a big number and 2 small numbers. I'm going to say that again. Each number family has a big number and 2 small numbers. Remember that. That number family can then generate 2 addition facts and 2 subtraction facts. Students learn this rule as well, so pay close attention. Addition facts begin with a small number, and subtraction facts begin with a big number. These are some of the rules that students learn, not all at once, but through the small step design of new content introduction. So more rules, are we ready? I can't see any of you, so I'm gonna say yes, we're ready for more, and we're paying close attention because you might need this later. So here are the next rules for finding the missing number. If the big number is missing, you add to find it. If a small number is missing, you subtract to find it. So remember, when you add, you begin with a small number. When you subtract, you begin with the big number. Got it? Okay, let's test it out. So Rochelle and I will demo lesson 41 of CMC level E. Rochelle has learned the rules. She paid close attention. That way, it's not just being introduced. She knows them well. Let's see how those rules are applied in this lesson. Rochelle, are you ready?
Ready?
Okay, let's do this. I'm going to show this like this. All these families have a missing number. Some of these families have a small number of 1. Some have a small number of 2. You're going to say the problem for the missing number. Remember, if a small number is missing, you minus. Take a look up here. What's missing? A small number or a big number?
A small number.
Yes, a small number. Say the problem for the numbers that are shown.
9 minus 1.
Yes, 9 minus 1. What's the missing small number?
8.
Yes, 8. Say the fact.
9 minus 1 equals 8.
Yes, 9 minus 1 equals 8. Let's take a look down here. What's missing? A small number or the big number?
The big number.
Yes, the big number. Say the problem for the numbers that are shown.
8 plus 2.
What's the missing big number?
10.
Yes, 10. Say the fact.
8 plus 2 equals 10.
Yes, 8 plus 2 equals 10. Thank you so much, Rochelle. Okay, so knowing the rules really helps students know when to add or to subtract and be able to say the facts for each number family. Now moving to level C. Level C targets students in grades 2 and above who have either completed CMCB or have passed into the placement test for level C. So students in this level can write 2-digit numbers, add and subtract, and count from a given number. This level focuses on higher order thinking skills. It also teaches a number of mapping techniques for relating problem solving to real life situations. Graphically represents word problems, measurement, money, time, and introduces estimation, multiplication, division, and fractions. Now in level D is geared towards our 3rd grade students or above who have completed level C or may have passed the placement test for level D. In addition to writing numbers, these students know basic addition and subtraction facts and can add, they know basic addition, subtraction facts and can add and subtract multi-digit numbers without regrouping. This level focuses on extending mathematical understanding and the connections between concepts. So it extends whole number skills to include multiplication and division algorithms. It teaches fractions and mixed number concepts and applications. It contains extensive word problem activities, among other topics. So there's lots of fun stuff happening in level D. We're moving on up to level E. Now, this level is geared towards 4th graders that, in like other levels, have either have completed the previous level or passed the placement test, coming in with all the necessary prerequisite skills that they might need for the level. So this level focuses on extending math concepts taught in earlier levels and introduces new concepts like the coordinate system. Students analyze complex problems using number families, like you saw, column multiplication of multi-digit numbers, division of multi-digit numbers, percents, ratios, and ratio equations. Students can also learn angles, inverse operations, functions of prime numbers, and identify the prime factorization of the factor pairs for composite numbers, less than or equal to 100. In level F, this is the highest level of the program, the focus is on preparing students for success in higher math. So in this level, students solve a variety of word problems involving ratio and proportion, fractions, mixed numbers, percent, and geometry. Students also learn about exponents, reciprocals, unit conversion, and probability. Now that we know more about the higher levels of CMC, let's pause to take a deeper look at level E and see how students work with number families, now in this case with word problems. So I'm going to go ahead and read the problem. A sheep was 27 pounds heavier than a goat. The sheep weighed 189 pounds. How heavy was the goat? Students might intuitively add to solve this comparison word problem because the problem indicates that the sheep was heavier than the goat. Students might think that heavier equals more, so naturally you add. Using number families, students write the letters for the bigger values and the smaller value. The sheep is heavier, so S is the letter for the big number. The goat is lighter, so G is the letter for the small number. 27 pounds tells us how much more or less, so 27 is the other small number. The problem gives a number for one of the letters. The sheep weighed 189 pounds, so S is now replaced by 189. To find the answer to G, students subtract to find the missing small number. So as you see here, the goat weighed 162 pounds. Again, students who don't have a strategy for separating the operations required from the relationship of the values often choose the wrong operation and add, concluding that the goat might weigh 216 pounds instead if they were to do addition. Starting with lesson 10, students work complete word problems, such as this one that you see here. Time for another poll. We're going to put a little true or false. Now this is like the number family rules edition. So true or false. When the big number in a family is missing, you add. When a small number is missing, you subtract. Number families show students how three numbers are related, true or false. Rochelle's going to launch poll number 4.
All right, we have people considering and responding. Thank you, everyone. All right, just a little bit more. All right, we have almost everyone responding. And it looks like almost everyone has remembered that when the big number in a number family is missing, you add. So that is,
Yay.
what is it, Jaritza?
True.
All right. When a small number is missing, you subtract. And that one is
True.
true. And the number family shows students how three numbers are related.
True.
All right. Thank you for participating in our poll. Excellent.
Yay, thank you. How fun was that?
Mm-hmm.
See, I love a good poll. Okay, let's move into yet another program, Essentials for Algebra. Now, the goal for Essentials for Algebra is to teach a solid foundation for a traditional Algebra 1 course and to teach students enough about algebra and other topics typically presented in high school math exams that are based on graduation requirements. This is provided in a 1-year course. So Essentials for Algebra provides students with information about how to examine a problem, refer to specific details, and use those details to construct an equation or equations that will lead to a proper solution. So the program cannot necessarily perform miracles, but it can teach very low performers the pre-algebra content that they may not have mastered in the past. And they can learn enough to perform well on math exams that measure basic algebra. We're going to watch a video testimonial of a student's experience with Essentials for Algebra. In this video, you will hear from Sebastian, a student from an IDEA public school in Texas.
During my ninth year, I struggled through all my math. If I was handed a test, I would just freeze and just either look around, just like thinking like, is anyone doing it real quickly? Like, and I see like everybody knows what they're doing except for me. I'll be struggling, just start guessing, and that's how I will fail like my tests.
So what happened in your 10th grade year?
During my 10th grade year, I failed mostly all my tax tests. I was really like destroyed, like inside, like I can't do anything anymore. I can't pass at all. I would like basically give up hope. Like I'm not a smart person. I'm not at all. Like,
So you started the Essentials for Algebra in 11th grade, and then?
well, that was a big improvement for me. A teacher will give her time just to go by one student. Besides, it's like 4 people in the classroom. She has enough time for 4 of them, or 5, or 3, I don't know. 2. As my teacher would give the time just to teach me, I would actually understand the algebra now. I would know the math skills right away. I can easily like memorize the problem in my head and know what to do. Like besides, I don't even need the calculator everyone.
And what were the results of your 11th grade exit math tax?
Results from my exit math test. Well, I got commended. Like I was really excited and happy, and I couldn't believe it. I was just thinking in my head, she probably got the wrong person's name and just like switched it up. Like I don't know, but I can't believe it at all. I got commended. I never got commended in my life. I would just get a passing grade, but never commended. And I was really happy when I got that. Like, I'm going to 12th grade. I know I'm going to go to college now.
Oh, my heart. Oh, let's go, Sebastian. That is just one of the many examples of how a carefully designed and sequentially taught curriculum can have a major impact in someone's life. The part where he says, now I know I'm going to go to college. I'm like, ooh, don't cry, Jaritza, it's okay. But honestly, these programs can be life-changing for people. So now let's move from our developmental programs bucket to our programs designed to meet specific needs. We will be looking at 2 programs in this category, Phonics Math and Corrective Mathematics. Phonics Math is a computer-based program designed for preschool or kindergarten children with no math or counting skills. It can also be used with older students who have not learned beginning math operations. The program was intended to be used with homeschooled children. Now, Phonics Beginning Math is divided into 100 lessons. Each lesson has 6 or more exercises. The lessons and the exercises are to be presented in order, starting with exercise 1 of lesson 1 and going all the way to the very last exercise of lesson 100. The ideal schedule is for the learner to complete a lesson a day. Now, the Phonics Beginning Math narrator provides the teaching for all of the activities. Jeannie, his assistant, models new responses that children will be expected to produce. In all exercises, the narrator asks the children questions or directs them to do things like count or write symbols. Children then answer all the questions out loud and together as a group, so in unison. Some exercises are strictly oral, and others are coordinated with displays on the screen. So the teacher or the facilitator all they have to do is reinforce or correct students while operating the mouse to make sure that the program is moving along. So students will also use their workbook for some exercises in each lesson. They will do all written work in their workbook, so not online paper, just a designated workbook. And children learn to count by ones and tens all the way up to 100. as well as counting operations for regular addition and subtraction and algebra addition and subtraction. So think missing number. Now, here's an example of what it looks like. So if you're the facilitator, if you see the display here with those blue buttons on the side that are circled and have arrows pointing to them to bring our attention to them, those are the buttons that you'll be clicking. Boop. So let's talk about corrective mathematics. It is designed to provide strategic and intensive instruction to students grade 4 through adult who have difficulty achieving at grade level. By focusing on core content and breaking this content into a series of small conceptual steps and skills, the series helps these struggling students learn efficiently from grade level instructional materials. They will understand place value, how to do fractions, decimals, percents, and to work with word problems. There are 7 modules making the series flexible. So this can be used as a supplement in different contexts. The series is not intended to serve as a fixed course of study. Instead, it is used to support a high-quality core mathematics program. The placement tests can give you more information on exactly which modules should be covered. So placement test is always going to be where we start so that we know what exactly our students need. Corrective mathematics can be presented to large groups, but students are best served when in groups of 15 or fewer. The modules can also be used with individual students in resource room settings. So here are the 7 modules: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, basic fractions, fractions, decimals, and percents, and ratios and equations. You may notice that each range between 55 to 70 lessons, and each module has 4 groups of activities that occur from one lesson to the next that are called tracks. So those tracks are facts, place value, operations, and story problems. Let's look at the top 4 modules for just a bit. Oops. So let's look at the fact track in these modules. Oh, wait, it's our number families again. Look at that, just keeps coming back around. Now, remember that number families consist of 3 numbers, but you all aced that true and false, so I know that you know that. So it consists of 3 numbers that go together to form a basic fact. In the addition module, students work with number families that look like what you see on the slide. The subtraction module uses the same number families as the addition module. Learning the subtraction facts, therefore, involves a variation of something familiar. So talk about efficient learning. A different type of number family is used in the multiplication module. The multiplication number family is shown in the shape of a division problem, or that little curly mustache looking thing. This distinguishes multiplication facts from addition and subtraction facts, and it promotes the relationship between multiplication and division because of how it's set up. So the students learn that the number in the box is the big number, and the numbers outside of the bracket are the small numbers. They also learn that when you multiply 2 of those small numbers, you end up with the big number. The division module makes use of the number families taught in multiplication. So once again, the fact learning is very efficient. The students learn that when you write the division sign, the big number goes under the sign, one small number goes before the sign, and the other small number goes above the last digit of the big number. So one of the major strengths of the corrective mathematics program is that corrective mathematics teaches a precise strategy for determining which mathematics operations is required by a given story problem, a feature not typically shared by other mathematics programs. So this is the story problem track in the multiplication module. In lesson 42, which is what you're seeing on the screen, subtraction story problems are reviewed. So students use the following rules to discriminate among addition, subtraction, and multiplication problems. So here are the rules that they learn. 1, if you use the same number again and again, you multiply. If a problem uses the word each or every, it is a multiplication problem. Most problems that don't use each or every are addition or subtraction problems. And if a problem is not a multiplication problem, and if the big number is given, it is a subtraction problem. If the big number is not given, it's an addition problem. So Rochelle, as my student, has already learned these rules. Now she's going to apply them to word problems requiring different operations in order to solve the problem. Rochelle, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Rochelle will be having we're going to imagine that Rochelle has a worksheet in front of her. So as I am giving her her signal, she will be looking down. We're imagining that she is looking down at her worksheet. Look at part 7 on your worksheet. I'll read the story. A. Katie Tallchief likes to take photographs of her classmates. She took 57 photographs. She gave 24 away. How many photographs did Katie have left? Is the word each or every used?
No.
No. So it's not a multiplication problem. It's either an addition or subtraction problem. Does the story give the big number?
Yes.
Yes. So what kind of problem is it?
Subtraction.
Yes, subtraction. Start with 57 and say the problem.
57 minus 24 equals what number?
Write the problem and figure out the answer. Wow, Rochelle, look at how fast you are. I'll read story B. Mr. Singh buys 14 crates of lettuce for his restaurant each week. How many crates does he buy in 3 weeks? Is the word each or every used?
Yes.
Yes. So what kind of problem is it?
Division.
Multiplication.
Sorry, multiplication. Apologies.
Start with 14 and say the problem.
14 times 3 equals what number?
Yes, 14 times 3 equals what number? Write the problem and figure out the answer. She's writing away. You got it once again. Nice work, Rochelle. Thank you, Rochelle. That mistake was unintentional. If this were an actual teaching setting, I would have jumped in and provided a correction, but this was not the intention. I think this was a small slip up. So imagine as if we would have done that. No mistakes. But there will be if eventually you are teaching one of these programs, or if you're teaching these programs, we do have a correction procedure which will address some of that. Now, this is just an example of how students are taught to differentiate between operations in a story problem. So thank you so much, Rochelle, for engaging in that demo with me. Now, let's look at the upper modules of this 7-module intervention program: fractions, decimal, percents, ratios, and equations. Basic fractions teaches what the numbers in a fractions tell. The bottom number tells how many parts in each whole, and the shaded parts tell how many parts are used. The modules present visual demonstrations of what happens when fractions are added. So the students write 3 on the bottom because there are 3 parts in each whole. Then they write the 4 plus 1 on the top. The 4 represents the 4 shaded parts, and the 1 represents the dotted part. The students then add the 4 plus 1 and write 5. The solved problem looks like what you see on the screen right there on the right-hand side. Now, the fractions, decimals, and percents modules is designed to teach advanced fraction skills in decimal and percent skills. Fractions, decimals, and percents builds on the basic fractions module. So ratios and equations is a 60-lesson program designed to teach basic ratio analysis and apply it to story problems. Ratios and equations is designed to be taught every day. The lessons average approximately 25 minutes, and the program may be used by any student who has mastered at least fraction multiplication, but cannot solve problems involving ratios, simple equations, or ratio story problems yet. Because the program's skill sequence is developmental and later modules build on skills presented in earlier modules, the first 4 modules of corrective mathematics must be presented in this particular order: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So basic fractions can be presented after addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Fractions, decimals, and percents build on skills taught in basic fractions. We have yet another poll. Poll number 5. Which of the following programs can be used for the majority of students? And which of the following programs can be used to meet specific needs? We have corrective mathematics, DISTAR arithmetic, CMC or connecting math concepts, essentials for algebra, and phonics math.
All right, the poll has been launched. All right, people are considering those and clicking all that apply. All right, great. We have getting close to half of our participants who have contributed their responses so far. All right. All right, it looks like we have most folks recognizing that our first question, which of the following programs can be used for the majority of students? Choosing DISTAR arithmetic, connecting math concepts, comprehensive addition, and essentials for algebra. Great. And then the last question, which of the programs can be used for specific needs? Looking at corrective mathematics with those 7 modules and our phonics math.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. Look at that. Y'all are an impressive group. Thank you for paying attention and getting that. Now that we've explored some of the key principles and delivery techniques of DI programs, as well as some rationale behind direct instruction curricula, let's look at how to get started. So we start from the top with placement testing, and you have probably heard me say this many times. We always start with that placement test. We don't want to move on to the next step until we can confidently answer yes to the previous step. So when we are thinking of placement testing, this is a natural step before the start of the year, but it also applies to whenever you are beginning to use DI programs with your students. So this could also happen in the middle of the year if you are looking to do or start a new program. We can then move to making, once you have those placement tests done, then you answered yes, now, proceed and collect your 200, pass go and collect your 200, go to the next step. So we are now moving on to making our groups. So now that we've done our placement, we know where all students are, we move on into making our homogeneous groups as students of similar age and skill. So once you know how many students are in that level, now you know how many materials do I need. That's when you go to purchasing. That's something that we will talk about in just a second. How do I get these materials? I've done my placement testing. I know how many kids are in each level. I've made my groups, and they're like groups of similar skill and age. How do I get my materials? Well, now you have all of that information. Now we're going down the yes column. Like I've done it, yes, yes, yes. But this start of year flow chart also gives you the answer or what to do if your answer is no. Did I do my placement testing? No. Here's what you should do. Hint, hint, do the placement test, right? Start with that. Then you can move on to yes. Again, if your answer is no, it tells you exactly what your next step will be. Remembering that we should not move on and skip around the start of the year flowchart. We always want to go in that order to make sure that you are successfully setting up your students in the right programs with the right materials. Now, Brian will include this handout when he sends the recording and PowerPoint handout at the end of today's session. So thinking back to our session goals, we learned about the scope of our DI developmental programs that you all nailed in that last poll. So we know that it's DISTAR, Arithmetic, Connecting Math Concepts, and Essentials for Algebra, and learn about programs that meet specific needs. So phonics and corrective mathematics. Our next step is determining where you are on that flowchart. Have you done placement testing? If not, that's your first step. If you have, you can keep moving along the flowchart to determine what your next steps are. Once you know what programs your students will be using, you won't be alone in figuring out how to teach them. There are training sessions led by very experienced trainers in which participants get a ton of practice with very specific feedback, with the goal of not only feeling comfortable and confident teaching these lessons to students, but knowing exactly what to continue practicing before the school year starts. NIFDI also offers ongoing support in which implementation managers not only continue to provide feedback on the technical lesson delivery portion, but also analyze data weekly to ensure students are making adequate progress. I cannot stress how beneficial this can be to student learning and to teacher instruction. All right, we have gotten to our Q&A portion of our time. Rochelle, do we have any questions? We've actually moved through our session pretty quickly, and we do have a couple of other things to cover once we see if there are any questions.
Great. So I have one question here. How much training is actually needed to learn the content or the delivery of a program?
That is a great question. So how much training? Typically, we would recommend 12 hours of training. And this is a great segue into our conference where we have training for all different programs. So when you know what program you would like, you can sign up for those training sessions led by our fantastic trainers that will cover usually the first 30 lessons of the program so that you feel like you have a solid foundation of that program and feel confident teaching that, knowing that we don't want to practice in front of our students. That is a time where the majority of the training session will be focused on practice so that you feel comfortable and confident teaching, and you can really hone in and focus on what your students are saying, how to reinforce what they're saying, or how to correct what they are saying. Thank you for that question, Rochelle.
Oh, great. Thank you. That was a very thorough answer. I appreciate it. Another question on instruction. So it was listed that depending on what program you're teaching, you might need 45 minutes to teach a lesson. You might need more than that. The question is, how important is it that students get that amount of minutes? And also, is it important that they learn daily? Is it important that they be in the sessions daily?
Another great question. It definitely is important for them to be in those sessions daily. We want students to be at mastery. So if a program requires 45 minutes, and these things you can see in the program guide, what amount of time is recommended. So if it says 45 minutes, students need minimum 45 minutes. They can also have more time. This allows students to truly get to mastery and practice all the necessary skills, because we don't want students moving on to another skill without getting to mastery. We don't want there to be any gaps. Those gaps build if we are not giving them the appropriate amount of time and rushing through or if we are not doing this on a daily basis. We want to make sure that we are reinforcing these skills because, as you saw through some of our demos, the skills truly build off of each other. And so students need those prerequisite skills in order to move through the program successfully.
Oh, great. Thank you for answering that one. One more question about the initial training. So this question is, if we learn how to teach the lower or early lessons of a program, and then we were moving into the higher lessons, how are we supported with that?
That is a great question. So a lot of the beginning of the year, or those first 30 lessons, like I mentioned, they do provide a foundation. So you will learn how to use the script and the signaling so that you are successful and can look through that. But there's also ongoing training. So if you are working and partnering with NIFDI, you can receive ongoing sessions, so that can cover later material. Does that answer the question, Rochelle? Or is there anything that you would like to add, since you are our director of training? Is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Yeah, just that if we, partners with NIFDI, those ongoing support would be through coaching or additional like in services that can build capacity at your school. So good. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Rochelle.
All right. I think that's all the questions that we had so far. If anyone has any more, just put them in the Q&A box as we finish out the informational slides that we have here.
Thank you so much, Rochelle, for those. And thank you all for asking those. So we just talked about ordering material at the beginning of the year as one of those things in our start of the year flow chart. So here is where you can order. You can also go to, so you can order at www.mheeducation.com. You can go to www.phonics.com. But you can also go to the NIFDI website for more information on programs, as well as to see support materials and sample lessons. I'm going to leave that on the screen in case anybody wants to take a picture of it. And if you have any other questions, you can either email info@nifdi.org, or if you are already working with NIFDI, you can contact your DI lead, whether that be your building or district DI lead, or your implementation manager or project director if you have any other questions. Our phone number is also on there, so that's 877-485-1973. I feel like I'm on a radio station. 877-485-1973. I would also love for you to follow us on social media. Now I moved from radio station to, I don't know, a YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Yes, follow us so that you can stay up to date on everything that is happening. So our upcoming webinars, our trainings, any conference updates. So follow us on social media. If you scan that QR code that is on the screen, you should be able to see how to follow us. We're pretty much on every platform, so feel free to take a second and scan that QR code and give us a follow. I'm going to give you that second. Again, our number's up there, so 877-485-1973. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Brian, who is going to share some upcoming events. Brian, are you there?
I am.
Yay.
Yay. So, yeah, we've got lots of, as you see there, lots of different events going on upcoming. We've got Zach Groschel is doing the how direct instruction embodies the science of learning. It should be a very informative and interesting session. We've got Kurt Engelman is going to be doing a free webinar in March, Science of Reading series, Comprehension in Direct Instruction Programs, and talk about the grade K language and what it encompasses and the rationale behind the program. As was mentioned several times, we've got our upcoming National Direct Instruction Conference and Institutes here in Eugene. Registration should be opening up on that tomorrow. along with the brochure. So that's exciting. We're really anticipating looking with great anticipation to our keynote speakers. We have Carl Hendrick, who's internationally acclaimed for his science of learning and instructional design expertise. Will be doing one keynote. And then we have Ernesto Rodriguez, who will be doing a keynote on the second day, having to do with his life story and direct instruction, how underserved students are can help through direct instruction, how underserved students and populations can kind of end what is referred to as the school to prison pipeline. I mean, there's just multiple studies out there looking at the correlation between low attainment in school and then finding themselves incarcerated. And he's got a very compelling story to tell. So those are some of the things that are coming up. You are, by virtue of attending this workshop or this webinar, going to be put onto our email list, and you're on it until you unsubscribe. We put out a monthly publication called the NIFDI News that keeps you apprised of the various things, articles, webinars, things that would be of interest to you having to do with direct instruction. So look for that to be appearing in your email box. I just want to thank you for attending this webinar. As you saw, the contacting McGraw-Hill for purchase of the programs, and then that kind of covers the content that we wanted to talk to about. As we've hopscotched our way through the direct instructions for math today, I want to thank you for your time attending. As Jaritza did note, NIFDI is available to provide pre-service training as well as ongoing professional learning and support for your direct instruction implementation throughout the school year. We'd really welcome getting some email from you to that info@nifdi.org email address saying, hey, NIFDI, get in touch with me. We're interested in doing a quality, as we say, gold standard implementation of direct instruction. We are the folks who can help support that. So please do reach out.
NIFDI provides implementation guidance to school and district leaders, as well as training and coaching to teachers implementing direct instruction programs to ensure that all students are successful. For more information on what NIFDI can do for your school or district, visit our website, www.nifdi.org.